Okay, so our first workshop person is going to be Jackie Chow, who will read the poem on the screen and we'll take a few minutes. Oh, thank you for that, Jackie. My eyes thank you for that very much. And take it away. You have to unmute.
Oh, okay. So it's called Unfazed. You said not to put the title. Um, I know who I am. So I am the backyard cat, sweet as a creamsicle, while others get run over or hunted by coyotes. She alone stays put. She moves with the keen focus of her blue eyes. I am uncurious like her about you, about what you think. I am above the reaches of your fangs and your claws. Not only do I know who I am, I know what happened to me. There is no need for you to tell me a thing about me. So trot away as I seek no validation from savage beasts.
Take a minute to take a minute to look to this.
Okay.
Give another read over.
Okay, should I read it or
No, well,
you're reading
we're
it?
gonna look at it silently, and then I'll open for the for comments. And some of you will have to
Okay.
unmute yourself. Okay. Well, first off, I appreciate the multiple. I appreciate the two worldviews. The poet's attempt to for two perspectives. I believe there are only two. There. Oh, Carla raised a hand. Let someone else, anyone else, talk above me. So, Carla, you can have a turn.
Oh, oh, okay. I
Okay.
thought I was going to wait till you were finished, but anyway, I really, I do enjoy this. I also would say, yeah, multiple perspectives here. I would say the jump from, first person cat, let's say, to second person, third person she is a little jarring for me when I'm reading
Okay.
it. You don't actually, Jackie, if you don't say anything while we're commenting, that would actually be helpful to us. Okay. Yeah, so you don't have to change anything. That way I think it makes it you speak at the end and ask questions. So, but I will just say that yeah, I really like the sort of narrative how it moves into it's always starting with the concrete, but kind of having this underlying metaphor in there. Um, uh, or simile, if you'd like, about a relationship. And so I'd say the biggest jarring thing for me is to go from that first person to the third person. Um, and that I'll stop there.
I have Robert who's raising their hand.
Okay. So I think this is a persona poem, and the persona is a cat, but there's a lot of language and ideas which are from the human point of view, like the word backyard is referring to the boundary between the inside and the outside. And that is the way a human would see it. So I would want you to go through the poem and to modify the way the world is seen and the images to be like the way a cat would see it, not the way a human would see it. And one example of how to do that is the first line. I would want to add a word to describe the primary character of this cat. Like if they were really nasty, you could add the first word of the first line could be asshole. I know who I am. Whatever the primary persona or characteristic, I would try to capture that in the first line in an image. Okay, I'll pass now.
On to Mr. Spizak.
Yeah, I think it's a lovely poem. I remember the adjuration that we should live in animals' consciousness, and I've tried to practice that from time to time. And I think you did a lovely job with it. And we don't often think of ourselves as a stray cat or a yard cat. We have both an indoor cat and outdoor cat. And I have to say, I haven't given a lot of thought to their perspective. But I think it's a lovely job, Jackie. Bravo.
I like the dual perspectives. But the one part I'm wondering about, and this might be a limitation because if this is written on a phone app, um, I'm seeing two voices here, and maybe it's I'm not even sure if the I is even the I speaker of the poem. I almost envision like italics and the cat who knows who he is knows who he is, like it's speaking like that. It might be good to like even separate the voices a little bit more. The like when the cats when there's lines like it's kind of funny. There's like an I, which you can assume is the speaker of the poem, and then there's the she or the her who you assume is the cat or the other cat. And then there's a you, and I wonder if the you is the cat talking to the poet. It's like almost like a different discourse. It might be good to play around with italics and just play around with like maybe fleshing out either fleshing out and maybe clearing up the pronouns or expanding it and maybe making it making it more of a dialogue than it already appears to be. There's a lot of potential here, and I like that. If there's anyone else who wants to comment.
Yeah, I would like to comment just to say that I see that there's a persona aspect of this first person cat and then third person cat. But I really think there's something else going on here. It's a UI relationship, and there's a metaphor going on, as far as I can see, between an individual persona, the cat, who has an adversary, which is somehow a savage beast, and trying to say, I don't need validation, et cetera, et cetera. I know who I am. And
Alley cat versus house cat.
but I think it's an allegory for human relationships, and so or a two-person human relationship. So I think, but I still also say that this movement from first person to third person to second person is confusing, because that I think if the first and the third were together, always first person, then it would make sense. But it seems to switch around for who the cat is when you're reading it, when I'm reading it.
I agree.
One,
I agree with the you being a little bit on the confusing side. You said it better than I could. Robert, were you saying something?
yes, to help make a choice about whether to stick with these short lines of 4 to 5 words or to go for a longer line, I would revisit the lyrics to the musical Cats and see how long the lines were, and see whether you want to stick with these short ones or have longer lines.
Okay, I think it seems like people who wanted to say something had their say.
Oh, I wanted to say just something literal
Oh,
because it just gets me because in the Netherlands, in Haarlem, there are no cars, and there's so many more cats around because there's no cars. And I've had cats hit by a car, and I saw a cat walking down the street the other day, and I said, you better be careful. Plus, my landlord downstairs has 5 cats, and one is always up here. So I just went with the content. I'm always amazed in Haarlem at all these cats because there's no cars. That's all. Thank you.
thank you very much. Jackie, any final words?
Uh, oh, yes. So I'm glad you pointed out the confusion because I think it's not a persona poem. So maybe I should say something like the backyard cat, and I am sweet as a creamsicle. Uh, don't know if it's a good idea to use the word like, but the poem is basically about a backyard cat who's uncurious. And so she lived a long life because she never left the backyard. So she didn't get run over, and kind of using that as a metaphor. So I have to work with the pronouns so it's not confusing.
Definitely, but you have a lot of potential here, and I appreciate you sharing this, Jackie. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Stop share.
And because it's Pride Month, I am not talking about fixing pronouns in a negative or derogatory way. Just going for clarity. Just going for clarity. I don't want anyone taking this shit the wrong way. All right. And now we do have a couple of people who gave me their stuff. I'm going to start with, let's see if I can get Beverly Cartwright's piece here. Hopefully, I don't have to share it. I mean, hopefully, I do have, I have to share it, but hopefully, I can share a document that's not saved yet. I just have it open. Okay. I think that works. And I
Chad, could you
think
make the text a little bigger?
I was just going to say that. I'm going to let me just take care of that.
Actually, if you make it smaller, and then we can resize it with those three dots and the circle next to Chad Parento's screen. We can make it any size we want. And so if you make it smaller so we can see the whole poem on the page, that would be helpful to me when I'm
All right.
reviewing and reading the whole thing. And you can do that
Okay,
with
let
that
me.
little slider on the bottom right of your file. There's a slider.
I'm
You
just
can,
stopping the share for a second because for some reason I couldn't get
no,
the view
you can
section.
do it with the slider at the bottom of when you're sharing. So
I
so
see.
try it again.
Okay, one sec. Okay, chat printer screen. I am
Okay,
screen sharing.
I can see the whole poem now.
Okay.
Y- And then if you take the little three dots in the circle above him, you
Yep.
can zoom it to 100%, and or more, 150 if you need more zoom, and then everybody will be able to read it. and
All
scroll.
right. Did that work?
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
to the just to the left where it just says Zoom, and click on that, and then type in 150.
No, wait. Are you
No,
trying
no, no,
to?
no, no.
No. Nobody should do this except for us. Otherwise, we can't see the whole poem. Chad. So we can't,
Okay.
never mind. Never mind.
I'm sorry. Nuts. Give me one sec. Okay, here we go. One page. Here we go.
That's great.
Well, it's great, except for it's really small to me.
Right.
So
So what you do, Beverly, is you look at the circle next to Chad Parento's screen in the top middle of the Zoom screen, and you look at that circle with the three dots, you click on it, and then you can do 150%, you can do 200% if you want, and you can drag the thing over and you can scroll it up and down. So it's really, I guess Chad is the only person at the,
I'm sorry, I go to a circle up above.
where it says
Chad.
Chad Parento's screen, there's a circle with three dots next to it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You click on that.
Hello.
And then you get all kinds of options for zooming, and you can scroll it. So you can scroll it up and down. So after Chad stops reading it, we'll be able to do this. Now, Chad, if it's too small for you to read, I guess you could change it to one page after you read it. Maybe that
I
would
can, yeah, I can figure that out. That won't be too big a problem.
Okay.
But everyone can still see it now, right?
Yep. And I can scroll the whole thing, and I assume everybody else can.
Okay. Very good. One sec. Okay. He used to ask me is the title of the poem by Beverly Cartwright. Are you able to read it?
I still can't
All
get
right.
it to in for me. I've got it at 100%.
Okay. Do you see the circle with the three dots that you see how it says 100%, 150%?
Yeah, I see it.
So select 200%.
Oh, but then I can't.
Then you'll be able
then you can
more
scroll down.
you can
Then you
scroll
can scroll
across,
down.
scroll down and across.
If I could get to that part of my screen. Yeah, this might be more of a workshop about how to use a computer than it is about poetry for me. Yeah. Well, you know what? You guys can see it, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm just going to read from my version. So it's not messing up the screen for anybody else, is it?
No.
Nope.
Okay. He used to ask me, where are you coming from? And I never wanted to tell him. It was always more important for me to hear that answer from others. I thought I knew where I had come from, a place that I didn't understand. Where I didn't understand what I was seeing around me, didn't understand the images on the television that was my babysitter in the evenings, wars and jungles in the daytime, and then after homework and cooking my own dinner, I'd stay up until almost midnight, waiting for my mom to come home from work, waiting to feel safe. I would check the back door every hour. Had I locked the screen and turned the lock on the doorknob? Was the window not just shut, but locked with the curtains drawn? I could see the kitchen door from the living room, and I imagined someone watching me, someone trying to get through the locks and the keys, someone who knew I was on the other side of the door waiting. And then she would be home, my mom, tired and unable to indulge my fears. She'd say, none of that is going to happen. Go to bed now. I don't know how long it took her to disengage from her day, working on a burned ward, teaching hospitals. What had she been taught that day? both of us with uneasy senses, hers overloaded from the pain of others, and mine imagining a country on the other side of the world blowing up in front of me.
You can have to sit with this and look it over again.
A beautiful, sad poem.
I like the build up of details in the poem, but I think for me the title didn't work. I kind of expected a different title. I don't know what it is, but for me the title is repeated in the first line and could be a stronger title.
What were the images that struck you the most, Jackie? Just for a little clarification.
The television being the babysitter, and then the kind of things that she saw on TV. Yeah.
Does anyone else want to raise a hand?
Wait a second. Government and saying.
Oh, someone said something.
Oh,
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 I raise my hand.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Robert.
You know, in the first stanza, I feel like the voice is an adult, and they're talking about an adult to adult relationship. And then in the second stanza, third line, where you say the word babysitter, now I think the voice is a teenager. So I'm confused about the age of the voice in the first two stanzas. And related to that, the last two stanzas, there are words which takes me away from the voice being a teenager. So the second to last stanza, where I don't know how long it took her to disengage from the day, I don't think is something that a child or a teenager is on their mind. I think children just think about themselves, and they're not going to think about whether their parent had a hard day. They're just going to think about themselves. So that's a credibility issue for me. The other thing, which is there's an example of a tell followed by a show. So the third stanza, the fifth line, safe, you're telling the reader the feeling that the voice wants to have. And then the next line, I would check the back door every hour, is showing the reader. So I would cut the word safe in the last stanza and just show it with the image of the voice checking all of the doors in the house, and I would change it to present tense. I wouldn't say I would check. I would show the voice checking the door and the windows. Bring it into the present tense. That's it.
I'll agree with a lot of what Robert said, although I think the starting as an adult at the beginning makes sense from the title. He used to ask me, and I feel like there's an adult relationship going on here, and the speaker is remembering their childhood or their younger years. And so I can see that that part of it, I think, is what's going on there. And then the doorknob is a really ominous word in the fourth stanza, because now maybe back then, I don't know, 60s, 70s or whatever, people did use just the doorknob locks. But, if you're living in a place where there is crime going on, doorknob locks are pretty scary. So just something to say there. So I don't know if it's the speaker's ignorance by saying doorknob, or if it's because there actually were doorknob locks in the back. And then later, two stanzas down, it's like locks and keys. I don't think the person getting through would be getting through the locks and keys. They might be getting through the door or breaking the lock or something, but I wasn't sure that they would be getting through the locks and keys. And I certainly like the feeling that is evoked about the mother away, coming home late, and the speaker, a younger child who's not a teenager as far as I'm concerned, because she has a babysitter, but waiting for the mom. And another thing that I found confusing, which is an interesting confusion, is teaching hospitals. Again, not the diction of a child, but teaching hospitals, the way it was read to us, working on a burn ward, teaching hospitals. So it's as if the speaker, the mother, is teaching the hospital, not working in teaching hospitals. But it says teaching hospitals, comma, so I just don't know, if it should be more fragments, maybe capitalized, working on a burn ward, full stop, teaching, in teaching hospitals or something. But the teaching hospitals, it was confusing to me, just my brain. And what had she been taught that day? Oh, interesting. Is it so she's the one who's learning, but she's teaching hospitals, or she's in a teaching hospital. So it was confusing. And I enjoyed a lot of the images in the poem, and I'm going to stop there. Oh, somebody's blocking the entire poem, so we can't see it, just so you know, Chad. Okay, thanks.
I think you should be all set now. I hope. I didn't notice anything blocking, because I do get a preview page, and I was trying to bring up something for the next poem. But is it okay now? Okay now. Okay, good. Oh, Richard, you spoke in the beginning, but if you want to speak more, definitely you have time to do so. Whoops. Looks like I was trying to lower the
Okay.
hand. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I like the fact that we find our character, our protagonist, who is both experiencing this as a older, wiser adult, but also feeling some of that, should we say, constrained terror as a child. And I can easily imagine a child wondering, door, window, here, there, and whether the babysitter is a TV or a person, only taking some very modest solace. And I know as a child and my own children had a pretty darn good sense of what my adult business life was like. So I don't find it difficult to imagine that the child had some concerns that about the kind of work life that the mother had. I just find it a very enjoyable poem and a wonderful exploration of that tension between, I'm going to say terror of it as a child, but also so I detect some sympathy uh, for her mom's work life, and that she knows that she cares. She works in a burn ward. Her world is touched by so much beyond in the greater world, but that she knows that mom is coming and will return. She stays up late sometimes to wait for mom to come home, and I think I sense a wise child and perhaps an adult visiting that child from so long ago. Thank you. I enjoy the poem very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. I think there's a good wealth of a good wealth of potential in here. I particularly like the images. I appreciate the last stanzas, overloaded from the pain of others. But that was a description to describe the mother, but in a way, it's there's more potential there because in a way, both mother and daughter or speaker and subject are experiencing the pains of other and also overloaded. I think this poem can benefit with a lot more show and maybe like rear back the tell to show more of that. Hospital poems, as speaking as someone who works in one, are very hard to pull off, and it's hard to get those right images, which is why teaching hospital might be too much of a trade term. I don't know if most people don't understand what that means when I talk about it, probably because in Boston almost every hospital is a teaching hospital, but all the same, it's all the same is that there's a lot of meat here. I would love a little bit more showing and imagery, especially like to beef up the last stanzas in terms but that line about the pain of others, that's in my opinion, the strongest. That's the strongest. That's the thesis and the crux of the poem in several ways in my mind, and I think that's definitely worth exploring and helping to expand. With maybe a little bit more imagery, you got a lot there. Of course, the aforementioned doorknob, and doorknobs are always scary in poems. There's whole chapters dedicated to the Chinese blue doorknob in Elizabeth. I think it's Elizabeth Bishop's poem, but yeah. So I think you have a lot to sit with and maybe even expand or just flesh out a little bit. But there's definitely some killer lines in here that are worth keeping and helping to nurture.
I imagine that the reason why Chad is saying that or suggesting to have more imagery is because a lot of the language, especially in the first stanza, is very much in the mind and written more like prose as opposed to progression of sensory images, which is more like poetry. Like one thing which could be fun to do in the third stanza is to make a simile or metaphor for the back door, like the back door is a gateway to hell, or whatever you want, whatever image you want to do, but that would move it more towards poetry and more towards images. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you. I think if Beverly wants to have the last word, she is more than welcome to it, of course.
Well, I appreciate everybody's feedback, and I feel pretty much the same way. The poem, there's a nice center, but um, the imagery is really not there. And also the start bothers me. It just comes out of nowhere. I still didn't even know. I mean, I'm working from memory in the first part, obviously, when I talk about this guy that used to ask me, and I don't truly know who that is. I don't have like a firm grip on that piece of it. And I agree that it's hard to imagine a younger child being concerned about her parent, but there's probably a better way to reflect that it was just the two of us. There was no one else. And so inherently in growing up, I was completely attuned to how my mother felt or what she was doing because it was just her. Um, and yeah, the imagery on the door make it a whole lot scarier. It wasn't, yeah, there was 4 panes of glass. All the person had to do would be to break 4 panes of glass and they'd be in. It was really simple.
It is kind of one of the terrors, especially when you grow up in the city. Like you kind of realize if someone wants to hurt you,
Yeah.
they could probably do it. In certain
Mhm.
circumstances, especially in the poorer neighborhoods, you find out the hard way. But this is the reality, and you kind of dip into that very much. But I think go starting with shared pains of others and just working with the imagery you have to expand it. I think you're gonna have a great. You're gonna have a really good poem out, a really stronger poem out of this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's feedback.
Thank you, and I think I'm gonna go to if Carla is willing to share. Is willing to
Yeah,
go
sure.
next.
I can share. Let me go share here. Oh, sorry. Nope. I mean, not there. Okay. So now share. Wait, let me just go share. And are you seeing my poem? Yes, you are, right? Okay.
We see it.
And you should see the whole thing. You could zoom it up if you want.
Yep.
Okay. Clock Garden, Carlisle. How the gate begins. Posted 6x6s with a steel grid fence stapled on. And then the real gate, door fixed, stable, a green wooden guard with a slide bolt lock. Not to keep people out, rather critters, nosy deer and chewing chucks. Once inside, a bouquet of colors, whites, pinks, yellows, a dwarf apple orchard in bloom. Even the idea of apples comes to mind at the bloom's red centers. Daffodils, tulips, bluebells, violets, the plantings, carpets of flowers. Even the peelings sprout in neat rows just before the pear tree fence, its plaid limbs trained, fixed just so, like an old road, blooms white, sparse. At the Japanese garden, fountains trickle prayers around the verdant lush. Close-fisted peonies, tiny faces of cherub narcissi, the ginkgo, squat and sturdy in trunk, limbs outspread, starting to leaf, the weeping larch greening its tongues. From the gable, time watches over the big old post and beam barn. Thinking of my own garden, I feel inadequate wandering these tended paths.
Taking a minute to look this over again. Prepare your virtual hands when you feel you are ready, and I'll call on you. Oh, whoa, faded into the ether. Oh, there it is. Hmm. Anybody willing to raise? Anybody raising a hand? Well, I'll give a start. Oh, it looks like Richard has a start. Go ahead.
What a charming tour of a garden. How absolutely delightful. You've got the carpets, you've got the carpet of flowers, you've got the pretty gate. Just a charming piece of verse. Uh, I cannot quibble with a thing, although I think the poet was adequate, wandering through and capturing with her eye and her heart the beauty of it. So thank you. It was lovely to tour the garden with you.
Does anyone want to point out a specific image that tickled your fancy?
There's so
Oops,
much that's delightful. The Japanese garden idea, the fountains trickling prayers around the verdant lush. How
that was a
nice!
good line.
The close-fisted peonies, tiny faces of cherub narcissi. Just, just charming. I think seen with a gardener's eye, with a gardener's appreciation, and I'm married to a gardener, so I can appreciate the magic of a garden. So thank you again.
Robert, you were about to answer?
Yes. Because the title has the word clock in it, I immediately was thinking that the setting was like surrealistic, like Salvador Dali. But the content of the poem is not surrealistic. It's more realistic. The
I
reason
assumed that
why
Clock Garden. I assumed that Clock Garden was the actual title of the historical garden, but I can see how you could take it another way.
Okay. And the last stanza where you're going from the garden to the human. I think this poem is about the garden and not the human. So I would cut the last stanza. There are many flowers in this poem, and because of that, there are not detailed images of any of the flowers. So I'm specifically referring to the second stanza, which starts the first line with four flowers.
So you're saying you want more, you wouldn't mind more details on how the flowers look like?
Right, like I would like maybe on the tulip there's a bumblebee extracting nectar from the tulip, or on one of the flower leaves there's a caterpillar eating the leaf. To give me a more specific image in in the garden. Um,
Well, that's an interesting criticism, and the reason I think so is that I don't think that was the intention of the poem. Like, because caterpillars and like other things kind of touching this garden almost seems like what the poet is going. It's against what the poet's originally saying. Like this garden that the speaker is presenting is such pristine. It's almost not a real garden with like another. If I was wondering if I had weird feelings about the eye coming in at the last minute. Not so much the I, but the my, but the I. Maybe the description of insects on flowers can go there, but I think part of the purpose for the poem is to describe an almost museum like array of plants, which real life gardens don't get to convey very much, but then again, I'm seeing this as a, kind of like I haven't bothered to look up, whether or not Clark Garden is a thing. It's not in my, it's not in my mental lexicon, but just from the title itself, I imagine it's like probably one of the better, it's like the gardens in San Francisco and the parks. So like, you can't, you need a gardener, you need gardeners working like 7 days a week just to get the pristine quality that you have. So, well,
isn't a clock garden when there is a clock made out of flowers and plants in the garden?
Carla the poet usually gets the last word, but I see Carla shaking her head like, so, I guess I can assume the answer is no. And, I didn't quite get that. I didn't quite get that impression myself when I saw that. Probably because I have a girlfriend, so when we go on vacation, I go to gardens with titles to them. It's what you do, but beautiful gardens nonetheless. So I just don't know if like the adding of like anything on top of it might be an interesting exercise, but I don't know if too much is going to interfere with the purpose of the poem.
There are one or two places where you have tells followed by the shows where you could cut the tell. In the first stanza, the seventh line, you have bouquet of colors and you have whites, pinks, yellows. You could cut the word of colors. You could say a bouquet of whites, pinks, yellows. And then in the second stanza, you also have this listing of flowers, and then you use the word flowers in the second line. You could delete the word flowers and just move the word carpet to the first line, and then you're more concise, and you don't have a tell anymore.
It's interesting. I mean, the one thing I'd love to see, the one thing I wouldn't mind seeing the poet play with, it might be worth it, is to like have more of what Richard pointed out in I think it's the third to last stanza, the fountains trickle prayers. That is probably one of the strongest images in the poem. I don't want to put caterpillars and bugs in the flowers, but maybe the flowers having more action would be more consistent with what. Yeah, well, it might make the poem pop. I don't want to say. I was about to say maybe like adding more actions to the flowers may settle your aesthetics, but the poet's aesthetics are important too. But I would, if I was working this poem, I would try and maybe do more. Even saying carpeting flowers or planting, like even the plantlings carpet the field. Just maybe have the flowers take more action just to lead up to the fountains trickle prayers, which is the more I look at that's a great that is a great line. That's probably my favorite line in the poem too.
I felt that there was too much description of the gate in the beginning. I noticed that the word gate is repeated. And I was wondering if maybe you could show something about the gate, keeping the deer out, like something a little bit more emotional to start the poem with.
Hmm. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
an interesting,
okay.
it's an interesting image, but I just wonder if that like it goes back to what I said about Robert. I don't know why I don't know why
Yeah.
the fuck I don't know why the fuck I'm arguing with you guys. I mean, these are interesting points. But the one thing I just seem to be reflexively kicking out against is that I just think that might go against the whole idea of this being a pristine garden. As a matter of fact,
Poem about a garden, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm of two minds of repetition. I try not to use the same word in a poem. Unless it's a very long poem, then I kind of have no choice. But I like in certain poems of description, I try not to use. For instance, if this was me, I would be. If I had started with clock garden, I wouldn't be putting garden in the rest of the poem. Um, I I could make an argument that maybe like the gate, maybe instead of saying the real gate door, you could say the real door. But I think the repetition of the repeating of certain words seems to might be intentional on the poet's part. The only part that I would say I would take out, the only part I feel very strongly about is the I feel. Um, Thinking of my own garden, comma, inadequate, comma, wandering these tended paths, and maybe even like change tended to self-tended, to give the idea, again, this is a museum garden, this is not a tourist attraction with an army of caretakers. That's the only thing I feel strong about removing, it's this is a very tough poem to critique because there's a lot of intent here, and anything that we choose can upset the balance, but it could also make it stronger. So it's an interesting challenge, but much like cutting a rose, you cut too much, you're done. You cut something else, you grab a new species that might be better than the other, that might be more long lasting. It's an interesting quandary, an interesting challenge. However the poet chooses to take these words into consideration. And with that, we can bring it. Unless anyone else has anything else to say, we can turn it over to you, Carla.
Thank you, everybody, for this feedback and careful read of the poem. I really appreciate it. It's great to hear. I named it the garden, clock garden. It's not a garden that you would pay to see, but it's a garden that you're in 1 week of the year, people can go and visit this garden, and it's a really special garden. And so and it says at the bottom, the penultimate stanza there is from the gable, time watches over the big old post and beam barn. So that's where the clock is. And I could end it there. But I also like the idea of getting rid of the first person, at least the I feel inadequate, and maybe we'll see how that goes. So I thank everybody. I will stop my share.
The only other thing I would say is that penultimate stanza. I almost wonder if it should introduce the poem in terms of like going from clock to time. That'd be an interesting experiment, to begin with two short lines, and then if you do cut the I feel, end with like two short lines or like two short stanzas to bookend. That just came out of my head right now. However you take it, however you like, but
it's a great thought. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna wait one more. I want to do one more poem before I do the challenge. I'm gonna have to take Ellen's poem and put it on a PowerPoint slide. I think for everyone to be able to see it, that shouldn't be a problem. I've done that before too. So, Robert, you're ready to share if you want. I know you can screen share, so if you're ready to share something, you're more than welcome to.
Okay. Expel me from life's school. In 7th grade science, I cut a frog's eye. Mr. Sneed won't let me spit luscious. In 8th grade biology, I got syphilust. Miss Dixon takes my penis doodles with bulrushes. In 9th grade physics, I'm revealed the universe. Mrs. Waters, why does the toilet bowl water flush clockwise? In 10th grade chemistry, I split my atom. Mom asks and asks why I lock the bathroom to use a toothbrush. At graduation, I'll cut the ceremony. Principal Jones promises if I attend, she'll slush me.
Okay, take a minute with this one. A quick note that I think Robert acknowledged a typo in the last line, saying Principal Jones promises instead of promised as it's typed, and I think that's consistent with the rest of the tone and the verb tense. So just noting that. Well, okay. My mom asked me why I locked the bathroom to use a toothbrush. I'm sorry. I did chortle probably a little too loudly at that one. This is definitely it's definitely mixing coming of age with inappropriate classroom behavior, and don't the two go hand in hand? If anyone else has any other insights, it's best I shut up as soon as I can. Let me know if you got a hand to raise.
It's very succinct, and I don't understand. I mean, I understand the pun on syphilust, but I'm not sure I understand totally where the root of that word, the beginning of that word, comes from. Sypha. If there's something I'm missing because I don't understand what it is, but it's it's very succinct and has some punch. And I also don't understand the slush at the end.
I was wondering that too. I didn't know if I was trying to pretend I knew, and hopefully someone else can interject. But I took syphilust at the time as an intentional misspelling, like some kid in biology or health class, um, talking about ailments and doing their own literal piggish Latin. Oh, Richard.
I was curious, Robert, did you really mean she'll slush me or did you mean she'll shush me?
I don't know if Robert's going to answer that now, so maybe the best answer is yes. But it's
Okay,
interesting.
just
It's
curious.
it's definitely something it's definitely something you can answer at the end. Does anyone else have questions? I'd be surprised if you didn't.
I wouldn't think it would be shush me because it sounds like it's there, the principal's promising something positive. If the speaker attends the ceremony, then the principal will do something for the person. So I'm not sure what slush means, but unless it means, create a slush fund or something like that. But that doesn't even make
I'm still figuring that out. It could be a threat. Sometimes people say, "Oh, that's not a threat. That's a promise." So I don't know if Jones is completely being benevolent or not, but I don't know. My mind is just kind of like steaming the gutter ever since the second to last stanza. How do people feel about the lengthy stanzas? Like the lengthy
I think there's enough symmetry in it that I think
hmm.
it's, in other words, I don't know that having shorter stanzas would add something to the poem. It could be a prose
No,
poem.
yeah. I can agree with that. Like if this was me, I think I would turn like like two of the stanzas into like maybe six smaller syllables, and that's not most people's styles. I know it's not exactly Robert's, so but I was curious as to how other people felt.
I can comment now.
Well,
This
does anyone else have any other comments? Beverly?
I just wanted to say that I thought maybe doing couplets was like a riff on a sonnet or something to go in keeping with the subject matter and the humor of the poem. So
It's
just
definitely a younger person's style. Like this is how kids would write poems in like fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. Like this is it keeps in the spirit. I know Robert does this style a lot, but in this case, I think the couplets kind of bring that out as well. But yeah, good observation. Anyone else?
I'll just say one more thing.
Oh,
The line of the penultimate stanza, the last line, is actually not really believable because any adult would know why a young boy would lock themselves in the bathroom. So that line actually is a little unbelievable, unless the mother is being, trying to just, embarrass her kid.
I could totally believe a mom doing that, actually, to be honest. But that is an interesting point. It's definitely a thought. Let's if everyone's had their say, let's bring it over to our visual poet from Lewis, Delaware.
So this was a first draft from a workshop where the participants were asked to write a ghazal, which has couplets, and in the second line of a couplet, there is a word which rhymes with the next couplet's second line. So, luscious, bulrushes, flushes, toothbrush, and slush. So that was the ghazal. But I always ask myself, is the form, the ghazal, is this serving the poem or not? And I think the biggest question for me is the end of the poem. I don't think the last line with the word slush works, and I wonder whether there should be one more couplet after The Voice graduated from high school, and I'll have to come up with some samples of what I might do for that. But thank
Well,
you for helping me think through that.
well, what was your intention of bringing up the slush image? You know, what was your attempt to what were you trying to attempt evoking?
I was trying to be consistent with the ghazal and rhyme with toothbrush.
So what was you're not sure you wouldn't be sure what slush me means either.
Right, right.
Okay.
I need to
Okay, there we go.
revisit that.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. Very interesting. Thank you, Robert. Mr. Spizak, we await your turn.
Yes, I have a little something for you, and I'm going to share screen. And my goal as a writer is to have people think and laugh. Sometimes I achieve one, sometimes I achieve both. And well, let's see how it goes. There we go. This is a little piece called The Support Stegosaurus. I need my special support Stegosaurus. The political news informs us. The plates on his back protect us all from attack. Those sharpened spikes on his tail protect us, each and every one, forever and always, without fail or fear. His cranium's thinneth. It's quite useful, as you might guess, for getting inneth. But one thing I can contest, and sure you cannot by stretching distendeth. Old Steggy is leggy, and the plates on his spine will gently, no doubt by poking, prod your mind. With their glimmering, shimmering shineth, like a goblet of the finest claret, or some other such wine. Can you bear it? Munching slowly his savory salad, easing all lethargy, erasing and ministering each misery mine, perhaps with a ballad, not an epic, but damn sure not in mime. And then finally, my Steggy is leggy is hard to refuse, a demon of demolition with the deltaphonic ironical blues. BB and Elon studied with him, so dashingly devastating and debonair, and betwixt us both, damn sure to win. So I'm afraid that all these on one screen will be somewhat difficult because they're all in pages of PowerPoint. So I will, if maybe I should try. Let's see. They said, what was those instructions again to try to share the whole thing?
Well, I don't know if that's possible with a PowerPoint file, but if you had a text per version of it, you could share that,
I
and we'd be
might.
able
Let
to
me
see.
let me check quick. I won't waste much of your time. I'll check quick and see if I've got a text only version. Let's see here.
The other thing you could do is paste each of the items of text into the chat, and then we can just look at the
Yeah,
chat.
that'll do. That'll do nicely. Good point. Good point.
Good
So
idea.
let me come up
Just-
here,
Start with the beginning, yeah.
right at the top, so to speak.
And we can click
No,
and
no.
read at our leisure.
Yeah, this is a graphic. Hold on one second. Let me just check real quick and see if I have a text only version. I very well might. Text, art, poetry. There we go. Other drama. No, close drama.
You know, you can
Poetry.
search for a word like Stegosaurus or Elon or anything like that.
Yeah,
in that
well, it
search.
should be right here. There we go. Support Steggy.
Well, if you have that open, if that's
There we go.
Well, then you just show it to us, but show us the whole thing. Like, so hit that upper right box, the box in the middle of the upper right corner. So
Box in the upper right corner, more, and then
forget it. You can just leave it as is. That's the whole
Okay.
thing.
all
Yeah,
right, that's the whole thing.
right. And we can zoom.
Get this out of the way.
Great.
We're good. We can move this around.
Okay.
And if you go to that ellipses by Richard Spizak screen and even do it to like 100% or 150%, you're still able to take your hand icon and click and hold, and you can roll up and down, and we can read it that way. So give us a few seconds to do that.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw it when other people were sharing. I don't see it when I have mine. Let's see. Sound optimize for
That's the only flaw to the system. I couldn't do it with mine either.
Let's do this. View web. Maybe
Don't change it, Richard. Otherwise, you messed us up. Please don't change it.
I'll leave it be.
Okay, well, there's one arts critic. He particularly does film, but I remember him saying that the hardest thing to do actual criticism on or just commentary on is humor. Saying it basically equates to you either get it or you don't.
Mhm.
And I think Robert gets it or he doesn't because he's the first to raise his hand. So let's hear what he has to say. Whoops, you're muted. There you go.
So the Stegosaurus is the subject of the poem, and I would like to see the Stegosaurus image more fully developed. The poem has more of a focus on why the voice needs the Stegosaurus as opposed to what the Stegosaurus is. So I'd like a lot more development of the Stegosaurus because it is the primary image of the poem. And I would also like it to be a metaphor in some way that it could mean many things for different readers. These are just some more language things. The voice of the poem is an I, and you start the first line with I need, and then the second line you end with an us. So you're changing it from the first person to the third. I would stay with the I and get rid of the us and make this poem the Stegosaurus and the voices need for the Stegosaurus, not a group. One thing you have, which the king of internal line rhymes, Dr. Seuss does, is you have that too. You have steggy leggy, glimmy shimmering. But what I would ask is, what is the right amount of internal rhyme for this poem? I think you only No, you also have it on the sixth line. Thinth and inth is also internal rhyme. So how much do you need, and do you want to make it even more absurd? The other thing you might try with the internal rhyme is to change the sequence. So the first time you have steggy and leggy, which line is that? Old steggy is leggy. Then in the second stanza, you have steggy is leggy again. I would try switching the sequence. I would put leggy first to give some variation. And that's it. But my first comment is primarily to increase the development of the image of what the Stegosaurus is and is. Thank you, Richard.
That's a nice criticism. More Stegosaurus, make it bigger. There you go. Does anyone have any other comments? I guess my only comment would be to maybe develop the made up words, or the words that don't quite sound right, like ineth and seeneth. I would even like put an eth in there just to emphasize the rhyme, just to be more playful, like Dr. Seuss would. But it'd be interesting to see a bigger Stegosaurus, one that doesn't need PowerPoint because it's too big for PowerPoint. I like that. I like that commentary, and I like to see you do that challenge. Richard, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
I am I'm guided by my muse, and while I can appreciate, a range of takes and all that sort of thing, but I tend to have, I'm going to say, even an inordinate respect for the poet's carvings, if you will, and I'm loath myself to critique someone else's voice, but that's me. And I'm always interested in people's take on it. But like I said, I have I'm going to say an inordinate respect for what my muse delivers to this channel. So thanks a lot, and I've enjoyed your work tremendously, everyone so far, and I can only anticipate even more riches to come.
Thanks, Richard. And with that, I'm going to Martha. You might have to read from a piece of paper or another file. I have your file up here. You send it to me as a JPEG, and I put it onto a PowerPoint. So I think I'll be able to work with that.
Thank you.
And we're going to do the best we can. So let me get the screen share going. I'm hoping this is successful. It's not perfect, and we can work on perfection next time. Next time, I'll give you much more time ahead, so you can email me something in the way of a document. But we're here now, so let's see. Where is that file? Oh, here it is. Okay. So I'm hoping when I do I'm hoping you guys can do the ellipses and close in and use the hand to.
Yep, I see the whole thing. It does it end with the long run.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Now, was it wrong to cover my jugular
With my
with
hand.
my hand? And whoops, let me. Am I still screen sharing? One sec. Okay, here we go.
You are still
And-
screen sharing. You are still screen sharing.
Okay, good. So, Miss Ellen, take it away.
Was it wrong to cover my jugular with my hand? After the terminal diagnosis, this called 11 p.m. Should I let her go to voicemail? She needs a pen. Why does she need a pen now? Why does she think I can get her a pen? Why has it always been like this? She doesn't know. Should I have told her about stage 4? About grim-faced oncologists trying to give hope? About my stomach dropping? About my fake smile, don't worry? About having to choke down tears every damn infusion day? She likes mocha coffee best. Who cares? I don't. I make her some anyway. Catch my breath when she reaches out with her frail, small, frail hand. Is it wrong to hate God? I dream of a cougar sleeping next to me. Don't move a muscle. What did I have to fear anyway? Slowly, I cover my jugular with my hand. Was it wrong to wish I hadn't? Waking up with wet cheeks, I ask myself, what difference does it make anyway? That's it.
We'll sit with this for a bit. Give it another few seconds. Okay, the people who would like to raise their hands can and should, but this is the next time. I haven't written about the hospital for a while. It's almost impossible to write about about a hospital, especially if you work in one. But if I do come up with something, I am going to remember this. This is a great evocation of like the day to day. You know, if anyone has visited anyone in the hospital, as I have recently for the last 3 or 4 weekends, it's a I have a visceral reaction to this. You know, of one of recognition, which so I might be too close to the subject, but I'm liking what I see in terms of the pacing and the drudgery mixed with the vital. You know, the day to day mixed with, well, I guess the inevitable. And that's what's impressed me for so much. I'd like to hear someone else chime in if that's possible.
So I'll share. You know, when I heard the title, I thought that the voice was going to be bleeding from their neck, and they're putting their hand over their neck to try to stop the bleeding, so they would live. That's what I thought it was going to be about, but it didn't turn out that way. You know, the point of view is from the caretaker, and I'm asking what is the best point of view, or should there be two poems? Like, one poem could be from the point of view of the caretaker, the other one from the person who is ill. Or another way to do it is, in the same poem, you could have both voices. So that's something to chew on. I love the line in the title, cover my jugular with my hand, and I would have more repetition of it, but I would vary it. So you have 2 repetitions of that in this poem, but it's the same structure. So I would try cover my hand with my jugular, and I would also try to change the body part from hand to another body part. I mean, the easiest one is foot. So cover my foot with my jugular. So I would have several variations of that in the poem because I think it's the best line.
I think you meant cover your jugular with your foot, but we can go back to that later. Carla has her hand raised up.
Well, I guess I'm going to disagree with what Robert said. I mean, I think the line is an interesting line about the jugular, but I don't know. No, I think the narrative is really what's interesting about what is going on in here, and the narrative in the speaker's mind. I will say that I think it's beautiful, first of all, and I also say that I was confused whether it was the speaker was the caretaker or the speaker was being cared for by the sister. I mean, I understand the sister has frail hands, but I still don't know because it's, the speaker's stomach is dropping. And so, I think it can go either way. So that might need an inch of clarification, but I might be the only person who didn't quite get who was who. Especially with the she doesn't know. To me, that means the sister does not know. And if she's being cared for, that she's the one with the stage 4 cancer.
That's right.
Which I find it's a little surprising. That's why I feel like it's the speaker who has the terminal diagnosis, and the sister calls, and the sister and the speaker doesn't tell them that they have stage 4. That's what I'm reading from here. And I love the parentheticals in here. She doesn't know. She likes mocha coffee best. I found the dream a little distracting, and I don't know if it's worth trying without the dream. The title could still be in there. Anyway, that's another thought. But and then the final stanza, I love. You made a change when you were reading it, Martha, but I think if it were just waking up with wet cheeks, what difference does it make? Or even,
Yeah,
what difference does it make, and forget the wet cheeks, so if the dream is there or not. But the idea is, what difference does it make is a really strong line, I think, and a good question to ask, and as an ending. But I asked myself, I don't know if that's useful, and you had something else besides in the long run. What difference does it make to me, or something? I don't know. So anyway, I like ending on what difference does it make.
Thank you. I think that's good. I think getting rid of ask myself is a good idea. Thank you.
Before we put the mic back over to you, does anyone else want to say anything? Beverly, Mary, anybody?
I have one more comment. I think a lot of the language is prosy, and you could go either way. You could turn this into a creative nonfiction flash fiction, or you could leave it as a poem. But if you leave it as a poem, I hope that you would do more with the line, so the enjambments, the way the different lines connect. And at the last stanza, you're doing a lot of alliteration. There's a lot of W's. So if you want to stick with poetry, I would select one or two poetry techniques or tools and include it so that it reads more like a poem than prose.
Thank you. Thank you. That's helpful.
I want to say one more thing then to that, because I also heard a lot of music when you were reading this, Martha. I just want to say that, I'm not speaking to the line lengths, but I heard a lot of internal slant rhymes, and I really enjoyed that.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I think the structure of the poem works fine as it is. I wouldn't struggle to make it more, I don't know, more poetic. It seems to me that that you've done that. I find it very moving and well done.
Thank you.
I don't know that I actually want to know who it is that is sick. In a way, it kind of doesn't matter if I'm following other people's discussions, because it's obvious that two people are deeply affected, and I don't need too much more clarification, but unfortunately, it's kind of a familiar scenario. So,
Yeah.
hard subject.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Martha?
No, but thank you so much, guys. Your input was very helpful to me. I don't really know poem structure, so I just sort of like hope for the best sometimes,
I think you have good instincts.
Oh, thanks. And my son will help me too. He said he would help me with the computer stuff.
No
But
problem.
the poem is about my sister, and
Mm.
I had a big struggle because of when she was perishing. She's a disabled person, and that was an internal struggle I had with that.
Let me make one comment as a person who's laid in a cancer ward and taken those shots. I can tell you that the sense of mortality that you displayed struck me as very, very true. And I thought it was beautifully written. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening to it. I've learned so much just from listening to your comments about other poets' work too. I really appreciate that very much. Thank you. I got a little frightened being way in over my head with you guys.
You did well. This was very enjoyable. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Jan, do you have anything to share? I think she may have shaken her head, but I'm not sure.
No, the only thing I had was the last time we did this, the
Yes.
last workshop, because I'm very fortunate that I have a computer tutor who did the hardware for weighing MIT, Harvard, and taught kids to build for 20 years, but he didn't get over today for me to post this thing. So as a text, but so I just have, when we did that workshop the first time, what I wrote that ended up in the Black Seed Writers. So I don't have a text. I could just read it. That's all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Do you
Well, I
want to read
never.
what you got? Do you want to read
Oh,
what you published?
yeah. This was okay. So this was December 23rd that it came out, and the title is "The Globe is the Glob is the Scary Blob." The Boston Globe is the glob, as bad as the serious blob movie that kept my grade school self up at night. Why? Recent top of the newspaper's fold, head of the Fed, pontificated on why the rents are so high. Oddly enough, greed was never mentioned. How high? In 1977, if Fields Corner rent would have been more than $150 a month, it would have been much harder to leave domestic violence. How many people are stuck today because of money? In 1992, Mount Carmel School, $600 a month. Top condo, probably 3,000 or more now. Okay. So it's easier to save money when rent's a third of your income instead of 60-some%. Okay. Now, my friend just rented in Brookline to some young women. Their rent was raised $1,000 in 1 month. Can you believe it? Another is how hedge funds in the USA acquired 300,000 houses to become slumlords due to allowing $800 per house per upkeep, which makes my landlord, whose grandparents built this place, erupt in laughter. They're slumlords. This hedge fund greed enrages young people wanting to buy a home. Our friends were right at the turn of the century. Houses cost doubled and tripled. They bought it 150,000 and sold it 700,000. In the Netherlands, bought but unlived in properties are highly taxed. You need to cue the Rolling Stones here missing you. Let's tax the rich like we used to. However, rather than buying when we could afford, we chose to help our friends age in their properties. I will not pay all my pension and Social Security for rent. I will not get another job at 73. As a longtime retiree, my cohorts and I can no longer be blacklisted. High rent will not push me out of town, away from public transport. I pray that I won't be violent. So the recent Boston Globe I encountered in the checkout line at Roach Brothers, top of the fold, head of the Fed, end of the article, in a smarmy, sickening way. You wouldn't want lower rents because that would mean the economy soured, would you? Lower rents before did not mean a sour economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And Mary, would you like to share? I think.
Um,
Oh, there you are.
you know, um, okay, yeah, I think I'll just read the second part of the long piece that I've been working on.
I know you can't share it, so we'll just hear that part, and then we can have James close us out for the night.
Sure, okay. A giant pair of purse strings looks over a map of the world to dominate and incorporate. A king looks for someone to bear the burden of guilt, blame, and shame so he won't have to. Someone sailing in on their pirate ship landed on our island, saw our abundant garden, and scraped it clean without just compensation. They found a problem with the way we cooperated and created, asking, where's the morality in this? They were bored and looking for a fight. They were also looking for something shiny and new and golden. Married to the king, then you're golden. Meanwhile, Mephistopheles needs his diaper changed. We pray it's only a phase that will be outgrown. But greed and hate are bred in the bone. They are proud and hardcore.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Welcome.
And we'll end off with a poem from James, who is more of a sharer than a workshopper. But if he wants to read one to just bring us home. And thanks to everyone for bringing their work today for the workshop. Again, this is a work in progress, and I'm so happy that we could continue with this, and hopefully we'll have more Stone Soup announcements for the summer.
I do have a question for Mary.
Yes.
Does Mistopheles wear Depends?
Okay, that's it. We're done. Um, we're done. James, if you want to read.
Okay. This is called Dark Enlightenment, and it's actually a phrase from the Tech Bros. The Tech Bros actually have a philosophy of the Dark Enlightenment. You have to kind of look it up in Wikipedia or something and take a look at what they're actually saying, because they want to return to the time before the Enlightenment. And this poem is called Dark Enlightenment. Some phenomena seen by dozens shakes them walls along the coast of Mass Bay. Is it a meteor or earthquake, or must it be those elusive tiny aliens, or could it even be those giants thumping heaven as they play bowling pins flying down that explode on re-entry again? Rip Van Winkle Redux, another rerun of fairy tale folk song that resonates through the marshy backwater floodplain, babbling unrecognizable speech. Sounds, smallest meaning carrying units that are called phonemes reverberate to great Pentecostal pilgrimage. All the languages so global reach out to enrich our life. Our right to exist endures, endangered through earthly cluelessness. When the clue to how we got to where we now are looks out, is but blacked out windows bargain with untold risk as the marketplace is palaver. With a masturbatory fantasy, everything we saw is dependent on the very darkness that defines the light, holds the light, glimmering there only because it is surrounded, immersed in very darkness. And here's a quick song for you. We're not the good guys. They didn't want to do it. We didn't want them to do it. They're not the good guys. I guess we always knew it. You know, they always knew it. They were so slap happy sometimes. They seemed so rad, but there were times, dear, you know, they were so bad. They made us cry so. We didn't want to do it. We didn't want to do it. We need some love, that's true. Yes, we do, indeed we do. You know we do. Give us, give us, give us, give us what they cry for. The brand of revolution, revelation that we could die for. You know they made us love them. You know they made us love them. And that's that old time pronoun, them. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for coming to tonight's workshop. I hope all of you enjoyed yourself, and maybe we all learned something today. Let me figure out if I can fix my video. Okay, we are all set now. I am going to make announcements hopefully later this week. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all for participating. Obligatory wave time, and or clapping helps too. Clapping's good too, and hope to continue these at least one more of these for the summer. We'll see how it goes, and the great experiment continues. I appreciate all your input and appreciate reading all your words. we're looking forward to seeing you next time. Have a great evening. Have a great rest of the week. Take care of yourself. Take care of someone else if you can. The show's over. We see you next time.
Thank you.